Don't use that tone to me.
What tone?
That sarcastic, contemptuous tone that means you know everything because you're a man and I know nothing because I'm a woman.
You're not a woman.
Oh, you bastard.
Hello and welcome once again to the Cine-Files, where each week we enter the world of a great film, we explore its themes, the history, the filmmaking, and the influence it has on us today. My name is Steve Morris. I'm a filmmaker and directing instructor in Los Angeles, California.
Hello, Cinephile fans. My name is John Roca. I'm a voiceover artist, actor, writer, producer, host. Yes, currently all those things at this time in my life, and very excited to talk about this movie today.
I like that we do our intros every single week, and every single week you have to take a pause to think about, like, what do I do?
As many people watch Collider know, sometimes I can't find my words in certain moments, and so I have to look up at the sky or do the thing before the words come to me, and it just means I'm getting older.
And
I do a lot of talking, Steve.
You do a lot.
Sometimes I have words. I have to have words all the time.
And we are welcoming back to the Cine-Files one of our favorite guests, animation executive, writer, producer, Michael Vogel. Welcome back to the Cine-Files.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here today.
Is this six-timer? Is this five-timer?
I might be seven.
This is seven-timer?
Superman, Beauty and the Beast, Star Wars, Empire, Aliens, Birdcage. I thought there was one other. Is there one?
I feel
other?
like there might have been one other, but
Okay.
regardless, I'm happy to be here and happy. Hope it's just one in a long line of many.
Well, we always like having you on the show. And this is another Patreon pick. This comes from Cine-Files patron Mackenzie Horner, and we thought it would be a good idea to have Mackenzie tell us why he picked The Birdcage.
Hi, John, Steve, and Michael. This is Mackenzie Horner from Barrie, Ontario, Canada. And the reason I chose The Birdcage as my cinephile pick was because I find this film an absolute treasure and a highly underrated Robin Williams performance with his subtle acting against the absolutely outrageously fantastic Nathan Lane. The two of them have such great chemistry. I hope you all enjoyed the film. Thank you and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Michael, do you remember how you first came to The Birdcage?
Yeah, I was in the closet and went to the movie theater. I like that usually I'm here to talk about an animated movie or a super geeky movie, but now I've been brought in to talk about the gay movie because I'm the gay guy.
Wait.
Listen, it's
Is
like...
that true?
I mean... I also love this movie, but there is a reason that I love this movie. But no, I actually remember I saw it in Gainesville, Florida at the Oaks Mall Plaza with a bunch of my high school friends, and we were all excited to see it. But it is an interesting thing to see this movie when you are in the closet in high school with all your friends and everyone is laughing and loving it, and you're laughing and loving it, but also you're like, don't laugh too hard. Don't laugh too hard. Don't laugh too hard. Keep it cool. Keep it cool. Okay. Ooh, did anybody notice that? Ooh, I don't know. So that was my first experience.
It's so funny. I can't picture you in the closet.
I mean, most people can't.
I mean, it just, you're
Those doors blew wide open. So
Yeah. John, do you remember when you first saw it?
What year is this again? This movie?
96.
Yeah, I would have to say I was
Also in the
probably-
closet?
No. No. I would say that I probably saw it in Charlottesville, Virginia. I probably saw it with my best friend Maurice. I'm sure we went together to see this thing and laughed our butts off. Or if I think I remember it, I went to see it with my family. Yes, that's right. I went to see it with my family in Virginia before I like one of those breaks. I would go and hang out with my family because I lived in Charlottesville, but my family lived in Woodbridge, so I would drive down and visit them every once in a while on a weekend. And I remember taking my dad, my mom, and I think maybe my sister to go see this together because my dad, for whatever reason, loves gay humor. He's the most...
that's why he always loved me.
He did. He always loved you. And you know, sometimes my dad, when growing up, was a bit homophobic on things. He's an old school macho guy. So I had to kind of ease him into these things. But he loved it. It's like when I took him to see The Producers, he couldn't have had a greater time seeing that live in New York.
Oh, wow.
So he laughed at all the... like. When the director comes out and the Tony, all that stuff, that's my dad's favorite part of the show.
And I will say also, although this was not the first time that I saw it, subsequently, my whole family thinks this is a really funny movie. My dad loves The Birdcage. And it was also a weird thing watching it on home video in my house with my dad, who is laughing and laughing at all this gay humor. And I'm like,
Do you mind if I ask, how long is it between when you saw this movie and when you actually did come out?
Well, when getting into like my gay upbringing,
Hey-o.
but this movie came out in 96, which means I was a senior in high school, which means like most superheroes, there were a select few that knew my secret. There was a couple people in high school that knew. So I knew that I was gay, and I had come out to a couple other people in drama club, but the majority of people did not know, or at least didn't know from me. I'm sure that a lot of people suspected I was president of drama club.
Yeah.
And then
I was also president of drama club.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
And then fully, my parents, I came out to everybody and was fully out of the closet my senior year of college. So 4 years later.
4 years later.
But it was basically 4 years of slowly telling people. I think I told John
Slowly.
junior year in London.
We all knew. I had never had a doubt. That
I mean, we can tell the whole story of you and how you found out I was gay right here. We could do that. But then we'll have to. But we got to talk about Birdcage. We'll do that on our other podcast.
We'll do another podcast.
That'll be a special Patreon thing.
Oh, that would be
bonus features.
For me, I saw it. I was living in Los Angeles. I was in film school. I saw it, I think, in a movie theater in Pasadena, and thought it was absolutely hilarious. And I am not sure that I had seen it since.
What?
I'm not sure. Maybe I'd seen it once, more 15 years ago or something, but I hadn't seen it in a really long time.
Morris, this is a Roca and Vogel staple.
Yeah.
This is one we come back to and talk about all the time.
I mean, the quotes are always flying.
It's funny too, because as you say, this movie is really different today in 2018 in a whole bunch of interesting ways.
Yeah, we had just been talking about this a little bit before the podcast started, but when this movie came out, it was, I don't want to say revolutionary, but I mean, this was as gay
deal.
as it gets.
Yep.
And to put a gay couple in the forefront and have a whole movie that dealt with acceptance and being gay and what that meant. And it was really, really on point. And I still love the movie today, and this is a good thing, but LGBTQ culture has come so far and representation has come so far. And the way that we look at portrayals of LGBTQ people is so different that there's certain things about this movie that we'll get to that are kind of problematic
Right.
in retrospect.
Well, sure. And I think with any film that like kind of broaches the subject for the first time or breaks through the wall a little bit for the first time, 20 years later, when you go back to it, there are some problematic issues because of the time we were at and the way we approach certain issues and the way the script is written. But like, there are people who love Black Panther in 2018 who might go back and see these blaxploitation films
100%.
and be a little like, ugh, you know. So that
And I don't
just
say
happens.
that. Yeah, and I don't say that to take anything away. I mean, I
Right.
love Birdcage, and I will always love Birdcage. And just as a movie and as a comedy, it is still as funny and as good today as it was back then. There's just a couple interesting things more to look at as an observation for how far we've come than as a knock on the movie.
Exactly. I believe that this is our first Robin Williams movie that we've done in all of the Cine-Files.
What?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe he appeared in like a small part somewhere, but 80 plus movies in, this is the first time we have Robin Williams.
We need to focus on that.
I call Aladdin. I'm coming back for that one.
I love Aladdin. I absolutely love Aladdin.
We got to hit Good Will Hunting too. Jeez.
So
Okay.
Not your fault.
Well, this is so, and I want to talk a little bit about Robin Williams because Robin Williams is really special to me.
Absolutely.
He is just a special person. So I want to give a little bit of history. He comes from a wealthy family. His father was a Ford executive, and when he was 16 years old, he moved from Detroit to Tiburon, California, where I grew up. So he grew up in my hometown. He went to my high school. He's the most famous person ever to come out of my high school. Wow. When he was there, he graduated in 1969. When I showed up at that high school in 1981, my drama teacher was his drama teacher.
Wow.
And none of that is why I have a deep connection to Robin Williams. The reason I have a deep connection to Robin Williams is Mork and Mindy, and that show was when I was a kid, that was it. That was my favorite show in the world. I listened to Whoa Reality, What a Concept over and over and over again, despite the fact I had no idea what half of it was about. I thought he was the funniest person in the world. And I think that if someone were to make a list of the funniest people in the world, Robin Williams has got to be one of the top of all time. There is a kind of humor of his that is unlike anybody else. And when he jumped on the scene, like started performing first at the Holy City Zoo in San Francisco, which by the way, he would go there. He liked to perform without a mic. Whoa. He would put the mic down and just walk around in the audience and improvise with everyone. Comes down and makes, changes comedy forever. That's in the 70s in San Francisco. And then comes down when he shows up at the Comedy Store. David Letterman says, I guess my career's over. I mean, that's the reaction. Like he swept in there and just... this is one of the great comedy places of all time, and all the best comedians of the world are playing there, and Robin Williams comes in and just wipes him out. And so this guy that, first of all, is this unbelievably funny guy, has the biggest sitcom at the time in the world. 60 million people were watching that show. Like 60 million people don't watch anything right now. Like that's an unbelievable number. If the population of the United States was 200 and something million at the time, a quarter of the people in the country were watching that show. And then to go from that into his movie career. And what's so fascinating, I kind of reading through like his movie career, it's so all over the place, you know?
Oh, yeah. Just like him.
Yeah, absolutely. Because he, you know, he's like, you look at Good Morning Vietnam, Moscow on the Hudson, Fisher King, Aladdin, Dead Poet Society. What a big movie for me that was. And of course, Good Will Hunting. I mean, like his performances are so good and so subtle. And a lot of his best ones are not in the comedic roles.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just an amazing, amazing person. And his death is one of those deaths for me that just...
Yeah, that one hurt.
It hurt a lot.
That one was rough.
Yeah, because he was such a funny light and what we thought a positive light. Could he be too much sometimes on these comic relief shows, like doing all things all over the place? You could see people could not keep up with him, but it was from a genuinely warm place, from a big heart place. And so his desire to make people laugh just consumed him. It was everything to him. And you can see him on conversations and on the shows when he would come on as a talk show host. He was always doing his voices and doing these manic energy. And it was so great. And it made you love him so much because he wanted to give so much to you who were watching or enjoying him live or on TV. He wanted to give you everything he could, and on the screen, obviously, as well. And so when he left, it was too painful, and the way he left was even more painful.
Yeah.
I think his death and Phil Hartman's death are the two pinnacle deaths in comedy over the last 20 to 30 years that have destroyed people or really affected people because they were such genuinely funny people and genuinely warm people that when they left, it left a huge hole.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so sad. And you know, he's also one of those people where it is not surprising. These people that are some of the funniest people in the world are dealing with some heavy stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
In their lives. Yeah. So, but he's amazing, and he's amazing in this movie. Where what's interesting in this movie to me is that he's mostly playing the straight man.
Yeah.
You know, here's
No pun intended.
and there we go. Let's talk a little bit.
Oh man, strap in, people, strap in. This is just the beginning.
Let's talk a little bit about pre-production. So this is our third Mike Nichols film.
Yeah.
And this one he writes with his old comedy partner Elaine May, you know, which is really cool. And it is based on the French play, which became a French musical, and a French film, La Cage aux Folles, which I saw when I was like 11 years old. I saw the play long before the Birdcage came out. One thing I found out about casting, and this is really all the pre-production I have on this movie, is originally Robin Williams was going to play Albert, and Steve Martin was going to play Armand.
Ooh. Damn.
I mean,
I think it totally would have worked.
It's so funny. It would have worked. And as you know, anyone who's seen Mrs. Doubtfire knows that Robin Williams, not an attractive woman, but a funny one. But yeah, it's so funny.
It's Steve Martin, a great straight man.
Picture anything other than Nathan Lane in this role at this point. Like, it's just so iconically perfect.
And because he is actually gay, I think it wouldn't have been as revolutionary as it could have been if you don't have a gay person in that role. And maybe in both roles, obviously, but like certainly in Nathan Lane's role, yeah.
Well, particularly looking at it now, I would think, because, you know, and this just to your earlier point is that up to this moment, when there were gay characters on TV and film, they were just a caricature for a joke. I mean, that for the vast majority, you know, like if you watched a gay character show up on Barney Miller or, you know, it was like, these are going to be, and that Nathan Lane, I think, you know, he gives this character so much depth and life while he's also being sort of an extreme version of this.
And even Robin Williams, playing the straight man and being a straight man playing the straight man, does bring
straight gay man.
Playing a straight gay man,
pretending to be straight.
Oh God, this got really confusing. But you know, even he, because of everything we were just saying about him, as funny as he was, he also had this light and this warmth, and he really does bring it to the role. Like, you actually do get a sense that these two do care for each other, and it's not just played for laughs, although the laughs are there. There also is a heart to this movie, which is, I think, the thing that even today makes it as strong as it is.
I agree. Should we start the movie?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's fly in over the waters towards South Beach in Miami. The sound of We Are Family. it's actually kind of an amazing opening shot.
It's a great opening shot.
Because we come right in, we fly right into the club, and we're right into this drag show with the song "We Are Family,"
which is foreshadowing for what this whole movie is going to be about.
Absolutely.
Which is brilliant.
The message is pretty darn clear. It's funny, by the way. I had seen, because I grew up in San Francisco, so like gay culture was sort of normal to me at a time when it really wasn't for the rest of the country.
Yeah, I mean, again, growing up in Gainesville, Florida,
you didn't see a lot of drag
you
shows.
didn't see a lot of drag shows. There was one gay bar in on University Avenue called the University Club, because where the college was that I had at that point not been to. But so again, seeing this movie as a high school kid, I mean, I was soaking up the gay culture. I mean, you're soaking up the drag show and all this stuff, and kind of like, now I live in West Hollywood. This is like every Saturday and Sunday for me. But at the time, it was like the idea of going to a club where there were gay people and performers on stage. Like, this was all like, this was my first exposure to so much of that.
Yeah.
And we move in, and there we have Robin Williams looking fabulous with his mustache. And we
Gay mustache. Giving me some gay mustache realness, Robin.
And we see that he's running this club. Apparently, the Kennedys are there, and it is funny. Like this, there's a good 20-year period where this kind of Kennedy joke was just normal.
Absolutely.
That joke is not the normal thing today. But I think this is right around when one of the Kennedys was accused of rape, and all these things that just happened in Florida.
Yep.
And we see the drag show going on stage. And then backstage, we see them take off clothes, and we see these are men. And I think probably for a lot of this country, that was shocking in 1996. Like, I don't think a lot of people knew that those were men dancing on the stage until that moment. And we also find out that Starina, the star of the show, is not coming down.
No.
I mean, talk about an on-the-nose name.
It's very clear. And then we meet Hank Azaria.
Zero. Starina won't go on. She's still in her role.
Damn.
And I don't know what happened this time.
Go upstairs, try and get her ready. I'll be right behind you. Now go on.
I mean, and let's talk about this for a minute, because look, Robin Williams, amazing. Nathan Lane, iconic in this role. Some great performances that we'll get to later. I think the fact that you have such amazing performances in this movie, and then Hank Azaria pretty much runs away with the movie.
He steals
Agador Spartacus is the funniest thing in this movie.
Agreed.
And I don't even know what he's doing. Like, I don't know. It's this completely ridiculous, over the tops. I mean, he is so damn funny.
It's just there's the and like he's like doing his little dance in his heels.
Well, it's funny because I know at this point, I think I'd seen Hank Azaria in a few things, but really he was a voice on The Simpsons.
Yeah.
That's what I knew him from. So seeing him do this thing is just crazy.
I think Quiz Show is around this time too, 96. So you see these
Probably
two
right
different
around,
versions of Hank, where he's like this kind of asshole executive there in Quiz Show, and then this.
And you see this, where it's like, when you gonna let me do the show?
It's just great, but it speaks. Some people just have this incredible gift with accents and with embodying that in a personal way as an actor. And Hank is incredible in this, because I don't think he's Latino. I think he's Italian, if I'm correct. And
I don't know.
And he does this kind of thing, and it's so believable. And his movements and his thing, and he's a frustrated artist. He just wants to perform. And the whole reason.
And also, just from a writing and storytelling standpoint, I mean, the thing that's great about this whole opening is you get within like the first 5 minutes.
Yep.
Okay, Robin Williams, he's running the show. Starina doesn't want to perform. What is this drama? Agador Spartacus, when are you going to let me perform? I want to be on. Like, it just from a storytelling standpoint, just right away, it's just establishing who everyone is and where they are, which is great, because for a comedy like this, where there's so much going on, what you do is you spend the first part just like lining everything up so that the back half of the movie, you're just knocking down pins over and over and over to great success.
Well, and this is having the blueprint of a great French farce as the backbone of the thing, and then having a great writer like Elaine May, who's great at jokes coming in, and then you just put some of the funniest people in the world on top of it. You're gonna do pretty well. Yeah. Well, it's funny too. Like we talked about Mike Nichols. We did Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. We did The Graduate. He does a whole bunch of movies. I was wondering, is this his most? Again, I was gonna say straight comedy. Like, is this his most just straight up comedic film that he's done? Because I'm going through like Regarding Henry and Wolf and the Angels in America, and I mean, he's done a ton of
Real laugh
Catch-22.
riot, that one.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
It's a good question.
Is that I don't think, and yet his whole background with Elaine May is doing comedy.
Yeah.
The guy is a brilliant comedic person, and so having him helming it really helps.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say it's definitely. I mean, probably his most comedic because it's the one that's the most out and out comedic. See how I said out and out instead of straight? Boom.
Yeah, it's out.
But also, this is just one of the funniest movies. Period.
Yeah,
I mean, like, it really is one of the. If I was going to make my list of top 10 funniest movies of all time, this absolutely makes the list.
I'll be damned. Yeah, what planet are you from? And Biloxi Blues are the only two
Biloxi
real
Blues,
comedies that he has directed.
yeah.
Wow.
And this is serious farce. I mean,
Yeah.
this is
These are great. Those three films, this with Birdcage, they're all three funny comedies, but this is incredible. Birdcage is incredible.
So Starina will not open up the door. Robin Williams breaks it down, and now we get into this first fight, and we meet Nathan Lane.
There's a cat out, okay? That's all I am to you, isn't it? A meal ticket. Can't stand. Never mind about my feelings. Never mind about my suffering. It's just about your show. Not even our show, your show.
I don't know that I had seen him really before this.
No, I hadn't.
We had heard him in The Lion King.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, my first exposure to Nathan Lane was Timon.
Right.
And so when I saw this movie, I was like, oh, that's the Hakuna Matata guy.
Yeah. Right now, he is not saying no worries.
No.
He's
all
worried.
worries.
He's all worries.
But thank God he has those Pirin tablets.
I love the parent tap. I had no memory of that joke at all.
Oh my God, it is the best. That is one of the big quotes all the time. Like, I oftentimes will ask people for a Pirin tablet. And you're like, what is the Pirin tablet? Isa aspirin with the A and the S script off.
So damn fun. And we start to find out, like, one of the tensions in this relationship is that Albert wants a palimony agreement, which that is as close as you can get to marriage in 1996.
Which is one of those interesting things. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of those things that for this next generation of LGBTQ kids growing up, the idea that there's this couple that this is as close as you can get. They can't get married.
Right.
And at the time, even the thought of gay marriage being an actual thing was like, sure, kid, one day in Fantasyland. Like, it wasn't a. That's the thing. I was recently on an Atlantis gay cruise, and I was talking to some younger people in a hot tub, as you do on a cruise,
Of course.
and we were actually having this discussion that, like, some of these kids who are in their 20s are like, would they grew up in the era where, like, gay marriage was always an on the table thing, and I remember being like, I mean, I guess I'll meet someone one day and we'll just live together and pretend.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's an interesting aspect of this movie.
And we see very quickly what their relationship is. And I love, Armand is just trying to get him on the stage and being a little sarcastic and bossy. And
Well, I don't have a palimony agreement on me right now. Is tomorrow all right?
Don't use that tone to me.
What tone?
That sarcastic, contemptuous tone that means you know everything because you're a man and I know nothing because I'm a woman.
You're not a woman.
Oh, you bastard.
oh, you bastard. Well, and it's interesting too, is like the language and the way we talk about who Starina Albert might be completely different today because he might just say he's a woman.
Maybe, but also, I mean, drag is different than trans, and so I think it's still. But I mean, we gay guys do refer to each other as she. But this brings up an interesting thing about the movie that made it work for when it is, and it made it work for straight culture, which is this idea that gay relationships tend to fall into
male-female,
the typical male-female. And Robin Williams, although he is gay and he's a little bit floatier in the way he moves around this movie, is definitely the guy in this relationship, and Starina is definitely the girl. And I think that is one of those things it's when you really get into what gay relationships are like, by and large, that's not entirely accurate.
Right.
Now, a gay relationship where you're the star of the drag show and you're the manager, it kind of makes sense for this role. But that's one of those things that, as I was like kind of re-looking at it, I was like, oh yeah, they really did the straight guy and they played that up.
Well, it's so funny. I think that opening shot of the movie that we come into the club and enter the world of We Are Family is so much thematically what this movie is, which is taking a whole bunch of America and bringing them very gently into this family and saying, this is a way that you can understand how this works.
Yeah.
Because this is 1996.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like I said, it really isn't a knock on the movie. It's more of an observation that were this movie made today, the Robin Williams role would probably be much gayer and effeminate, even though he's clearly the one who's pushing his dramatic wife to be, or husband, wife.
Yeah.
This
Palimony
is
person.
really confusing
Yeah,
to me.
it's very.
I think it is to a lot of people.
But the French plays like this though as well, right?
Yeah, this is what the French play's about.
So
Absolutely.
it's not like they came up with these characters,
Oh, yeah,
stock
again,
characters. It was,
yeah,
it's
and,
off
and,
the
and it
frame.
works for the comedy of
It does, and it does, yeah. Because Nathan is like his portrayal of what's her actual name? Not Starina, but
Albert.
Albert. Her portrayal of Albert is his portrayal of Albert is just it's so endearing because. This is something Michael and I talk about all the time. Like there are people who just need a little more attention. That's all. They're a little more sensitive.
In me and John's friendship over the years, it is clear that
He's Starina.
he is Starina.
Yes, fine, whatever. There's some of us that just need a little more attention. That's all. A little more stroking in certain moments.
I have often given John Pirin tablets.
It's tough in this business when you're a performer.
Well, and one of the things that's causing this upset is apparently a bottle of white wine, which Armand doesn't drink
yes,
white wine.
yes.
There's some tension about whether or not has he seen another person, and we don't know. And finally, though, we do convince Starina to go on stage, and there's and then he's shaving with the electric razor, and then we introduce Starina. Nathan Lane goes up and performs, and I think, by the way, this is a Stephen Sondheim song. That's like from, I forget which one it is, but there are a bunch of Sondheim songs in here that are from musicals that ended up getting cut that they're being used here. And you can see when Robin Williams is watching Nathan Lane on stage or when Armand is watching Starina, boy, he loves her.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, that's what Robin Williams brings to this role that another comedic actor might not have, is that just that warmth and that love that Robin Williams has comes across. And you also see that for all the drama, Starina's worth it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when you see Nathan Lane on stage doing what he does, you're like, oh, yeah, there's a reason that she's the star of this show.
As you can see, I've just gotten back from safari. And look what I picked up, a new muff. Yes! And look, it comes with accessories. Oh, don't look at me like that. I didn't kill him. He died and left me everything.
But Armand does not stay to watch the show.
Nope.
Sneaks off, goes into this room where Hank Azaria is dancing to Conga, little Gloria Estefan, which seems like the right choice.
Which is great.
And he pulls out that bottle of white wine, and we go, oh no, maybe he is seeing someone on the side because we don't know where this thing's going.
Yep. And then they do play, and they play it up so great.
They really do.
He lights some candles. In walks this young, good-looking guy. They have a very affectionate hug. This is Dan Futterman, by the way. And he says, I have something to tell you, and I don't want you to get how you get. This is no way to ever start a conversation. I don't want you to get how you get. It's like, well.
I mean, again, I've had this conversation with John many times in life.
Wait, but I thought now you're Val?
I mean, it varies. All I know is I've definitely said to Roca, I'm going to tell you something. Don't get how you get.
and then we find out that he's getting married, and in fact, this is Armand's son. That this is Val. He's getting married, and it's a really great scene.
Yeah.
And really the first scene in which we see, Val's a jerk.
I mean, this is the big thing about this movie that when it came out, and again, in 96, the thought that somebody would be like, I'm embarrassed of you guys.
Yeah. Right. Which is the whole plot of this
Which
movie.
is the entire plot of the movie.
Right.
Given where straight culture and gay culture was at that time, that made sense. And you didn't really give it another thought. Watching that today, I am like,
It's horrible.
you're the worst person ever.
Yeah.
Like, you are literally the worst.
Well, and even then, and this is something that will come up throughout the movie, is that even in 1996, this is a terrible plan. This can't even if you are embarrassed by them but this can't possibly work. There is no way.
No.
Your plan is awful.
Well, in defense of Val, a little bit is, he's a young kid. To him,
Sure.
he sees this possibility to be married to this woman. It's like, if it's just one night, you can meet him. And then if you could just kind of put on airs a little bit, and then we'll get through it, and then I'll marry her, and then we can deal with it down the road, which is
A horrible plan.
well, sure, but it is what was happening in the culture at the time.
100%.
Right? And that's the thing that he's mirroring is what was happening in the culture. And people experience, like I sometimes was growing up as a young kid was ashamed to be Latino. When you're in a mostly white area, it's very hard to bring your white friends over and they see like paintings on the wall or things that nature. Very Latino. They don't understand it. They'll make comments. So those are the things I had to experience with sometimes. So I get why Val is doing. Now Val's in his 20s, so maybe he should know better. But when you're in love, sometimes you just do those things that you ask the favors of your friends or your family that maybe you wouldn't normally ask. But I agree with you. It is a dumb plan.
Well, what I would say too is like sometimes the job of the filmmaker, and this is something I've come across doing documentaries, which is a strange analogy, is that your job is not to say what is true or what is right. If you want to move the audience's perception of a thing, you kind of have to start where they are.
Yeah.
And where they are is they don't understand this relationship and they would be embarrassed. So Val is sort of the audience, and then the audience to bring them in and make them understand what's happening. And then we're going to change them over time as we see how ridiculous this whole thing's going to get.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we hear that this girl's name is Barbara, and then let's go meet her and her family.
Are you crazy? It's out of the question. You can't get married, not even 18.
Who is this boy, Barbie? When was the last time you saw him?
Please don't call me Barbie. This afternoon at 2 o'clock. We've been sleeping together for a year.
Oh, God. Has he been tested?
Oh, Kevin!
Yes, and so have I.
And this is where just the political satire of this movie is so on point. And this part of the movie is still as relevant today as it's ever been. And holy shit.
And we see Barbara is a very young Calista Flockhart.
Very young.
And her parents are the unbelievable Gene Hackman and the amazing Diane Wiest. They are both so great.
Like we were saying, Hank Azaria kind of runs away with this movie, but I think Gene Hackman has some very unsung moments as like the funniest moments in this movie that we'll get to later. And the setup of this again, I mean, like I said before, like just from a writing standpoint, just setting up all of these pins to knock down. It's like, okay, let's meet these people. And they're not just kind of conservative. I mean, they just go for it. This is the most conservative, this is as far as you can go.
Well, it's funny. This is our fourth Gene Hackman film. Our second with Michael Vogel.
Yeah.
And so we've done, and 3 out of the 4 are comedic.
Yeah.
Because we did French Connection, which is obviously the movie that made him a star, a big serious role. But we did Lex Luthor in Superman.
Yes.
And we did his role in Young Frankenstein. And this is what's so funny. He doesn't get to do it very much. They don't let him. But Gene Hackman is really funny.
Oh, yeah.
And his role here, he's playing the conservative senator. And they are very worried about this relationship. And but Barbara's reassuring him, he's like a cultural attaché and he's in the arts and that's who the father is. And they're worried about the Mapplethorpe exhibit, which would be a big conservative thing in the mid 90s.
And what's interesting about this relationship is it's a juxtaposition to the relationship with Albert and Armand.
Absolutely.
You have the wife is the one that's kind of having to take care
The steady one.
the steady one having to take care of the husband who's constantly dealing with his own insecurities or his own status or his own need to be his political future. She is stabilizing.
Yeah, I mean, like Gene Hackman's obsession over his career.
Yeah.
And Starina's obsession and self-absorption over her stuff. I mean, these two clearly are
Exactly.
Absolutely.
two peas in a pod.
Which is why when they connect later in the movie, it makes absolute sense because they understand each other intrinsically.
Well, and they're both playing roles. I mean, they're both people pretending to be things that they are not.
Yeah.
Gene Hackman pretending to be the strong, traditional, masculine, male, conservative guy, and he is deeply neurotic. I love his obsession with candy, by the way.
Yeah, it's a brilliant touch.
One of the great little
brilliant touch.
He's clearly an emotional eater.
Yes.
And of course, Barbara's spinning all these lies about Greece and all this stuff. And this is, by the way, one of the key for those liars out there who are young people aspiring to be better liars. You have to keep your story straight and keep it simple. Don't introduce new details that someone else is going to have to pick up.
More.
Very important. The more you know. And then Robin Williams gets on the phone, and Gene Hackman is listening in on the call. And it's so funny. I love that they find out they've never even heard of South Beach. Yeah. Where's South Beach? Oh, it's like Palm Beach, where Jeb Bush lives. And it's so funny hearing the mentions of Jeb Bush.
Yep.
Yeah.
They finish up this call. We go back to Armand and Val, and in walks Nathan Lane. That's a Judy Garland outfit, right?
Yes.
Which is
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
I forget what the number is, but there's a famous dance number that she's in that outfit, a duet with someone else, right?
I can't remember.
I can't remember what it is.
Definitely.
And of course he accuses Armand of cheating.
Oh,
and then
Be a Clown. It's with Gene Kelly.
with
It's
Gene
from I forget. I think it's from Summer Stock. She does Be a Clown with Gene. Okay, all right, fine.
You're so sweet. you're so smart with the classics, John.
I hate you. Yes, I remember this number.
And then we find out Albert finds out that Val's here.
Yes.
And the love that he has for, which is really his son, is amazing and loving and touching. It's the next day. Albert's out shopping in the market.
Beautiful flower. Good morning.
I love the scene of him shopping in the market.
This whole scene of him shopping is just like, I had so many friends who had moms like this, and this was like the best thing about it is anybody watching him shopping and talking to everybody as he does his thing with his like giant glasses and everything. Like, it's like, this is everyone's favorite mom. Like when you were growing up, there was that one mom who was like the favorite mom. And so again, to your point of what this movie did is everybody was like, oh, this guy is drag and he does these performances and he seems a little crazy. I don't know. And then you see this and you're like, oh, yeah, I know this mom.
Yeah. We're back with Hank Azaria and Robin, and this is where we first hear that he wants to be in the show. And I love are you afraid of my Guatemalaness, my natural heat?
Guatemalaness.
Come on, aren't you afraid of my Guatemalaness?
Your what?
My Guatemalaness, my natural heat. You're afraid I'm too primitive, right? To be on the stage with your little estrogen rockettes, right?
Oh, yes, you're right. I'm afraid of your heat.
And Albert does not yet know that Val is getting married, and this is where he finds out.
Yes.
He comes back in, finds out that Val's getting married, and we haven't quite gotten to the problems yet. I think what we do need to see is a little message from the Coalition for Moral Order.
Now, when I and Senator Keeley here founded the Coalition for Moral Order, it was to express moral rather than political views.
I think what Senator Jackson is trying to say is that morality is political. Abortion, same-sex marriage.
And sure, this seems funny, except this is pretty much exactly something you would see on TV in 1996 and
something that we would see today and do, in fact, see today.
Absolutely.
And they do bring up same-sex marriage as just a ridiculous, impossible, terrible thing. And we meet Senator Jackson.
Oh, God, Senator Jackson.
This is great because for those of you who don't remember, Crossfire was a TV show on CNN, and you would see this kind of thing. Conservatives and Democrats, or conservatives and liberals would actually appear on the same program and debate things. And I forget who the two hosts were. I know Carville was on for a little while, but they would debate these. So this was very familiar to a certain generation. And you did. I mean, he's essentially, who's that guy that wrote that book about morals? William Bennett. He's essentially William Bennett. Is this who Jackson is being? He's essentially standing in for William Bennett, and then you have Hackman's character there as well. It was very believable in that. Like, it's fantastic what that whole is very believable.
And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I mean, and this is one of those things that is, that this movie really underscores. I mean, this is the theme of the entire movie. That is something that we are still dealing with today with religious freedom laws and everything else, which is the people that are shouting the loudest for family values don't always represent that. And the things that seem as far away from family values as a lot of people think they can get are the ones that actually are the closest and the most familial.
Yeah.
Because this is a loving family. I mean, we entered with We Are Family. That is the theme of the film. Yeah. And we come out of this TV into the world of Gene Hackman and Diane Wiest. And Hackman, I love that he's kind of going, oh, maybe I shouldn't have gone with this Jackson guy. Maybe I should have hitched my wagon to Bob Dole, because this is, in fact, 1996. Bob Dole is running for president.
That's right.
This year.
Yeah, that's right.
This is right in the middle of the election year.
But once again, he's watching himself on TV. He's, how did I come across? Like, he's just like
obsessed with his performance.
And she has to calm him down. She has to tell him how great he was.
And that's when we find out that Jackson has, not only has he died, but he's died in a prostitute's bed with a black minor. And
just the delivery of all this is just, it's one thing on top of another thing on top of another thing, and it's just perfect.
Which goes right into Bridget, I could really And then, we have Albert looking at the baby book, like reminiscing, and we're back to now this prostitute is on TV, and Gene Hackman is watching like, well, they haven't mentioned me much, but he knows that this could be the end of his political career.
Yeah. And then all of the and then is it and this is when it's like you look outside and all the news trucks are coming up and everybody's there. I mean, they're trapped.
And they started to go like, Diane Wiest comes up with the idea. You know what's going to save us? This marriage.
What do you mean? What wedding? Who's getting married? No.
Why not? It would restore your image. A wedding is hope, and a white wedding is family and morality and tradition, and it would be such a special marriage. I mean, the son of a cultural attaché, a sort of a diplomat, really, who doesn't look down on us because of Senator Jackson, who's willing to join our family. There's the cover of People and Time and Newsweek right there.
And I love how they're building up this other family that they haven't met. Like, they're artists and they're a good family. It's a cultural attaché. And we're going to go down to this wonderful place called South Beach, and it's all going to be okay.
So they're both lying to their parents.
Oh, yes.
Right? But only one is asking them to change their kind of who they are. Right? All Callista Flockhart tries to do is to get them to be like open to it, whereas...
Well, both of them are embarrassed by... by Armand and Albert.
Right, but she's not saying, be liberal when you go down
But to your point, like... This movie representative of where the country was.
Yeah, right.
The country understood that there was maybe some hypocrisy on the conservative side.
Right.
But the country was more embarrassed of the gay relationship than they were, like trying to be like, everyone is like, we need to tone this down.
Right.
It'd be very funny. I don't think you could really do it, but to do the opposite movie. I am so embarrassed by my conservative parents that I'm going to make them pretend to be liberals to please my liberal boyfriend.
Well, I like that because the inherent nature of conservatism is that it's stubborn and will not change and stay. So to turn it around a little bit would be funny to explore. Absolutely. And we knew this growing into the 80s and 90s. Like the children of these conservative leaders were not like Ron Reagan and Patty Davis were not believers in the conservative stuff that their mom and their dad, Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan, were into. And so we saw this coming as a prevalent thing throughout. And we see even now with Meghan McCain being... with the stuff
and
with
you could make a movie.
John McCain.
You could very easily make a movie about two gay dads whose child wants to marry a Trump supporter.
Yes,
you could,
and that would be some shit.
Yeah, it definitely. I definitely would.
Trademark me. I'm doing it. Don't do it. Anybody listening? I call it. Mine. Dibsies.
I really wonder. By the way, there's a whole setup to this of Barbara and Val coming up with this plan because they had to and I wonder whose idea was this? Was one of them pushing the other one? Like, how did we get to the place where, okay, I'm going to go back to my family and I'm going to tell them, and you're going to go tell your parents and you're going to tell them to do this. And it's, again, terrible plan.
It's the folly of youth, man. Yeah.
We're in a rehearsal.
Oh God! This is. I think this was in the trailer, but this is just the Robin Williams.
It was definitely in the trailer. I saw this over and over and over again.
Madonna, Martha Graham. Like, it is so good.
You do an eclectic celebration of the dance. You do Fosse. You do Martha Graham. Or Twyla. Or Michael Kidd. Or Madonna. But you keep it all inside.
Did he improvise this?
I'm sure he did.
I think he must.
You know what? It's kind of that thing with Robin Williams where he's great when he's delivering lines and he's always very funny. But then there's always those moments where anyone who's ever seen his stand-up or anything, you can just sense that he's gone off on a Robin Williams riff.
Yeah.
And this is that.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing with the guy chewing the gum. The chewing the gum.
Helps me think.
You need more gum.
You need more
gum.
So let's have a conversation about this, because this scene is what I know people may watch this movie and think, oh, caricatures. No, but I think this film does walk you into the subculture of gay culture. It walks you into it. You know guys like that who have to play the love. who have to play the love interest, and they're bored, and they're doing those things that they're doing, and here's Starry, and here's Nathan, and Albert is like really, she's performing, she's doing what she's doing, and you see these different stages, and that's what I like about the movie is no one's one dimensional, and I enjoy that.
No one is one dimensional, and it's very gay friendly. I do think Nathan Lane playing the role of Starina helps a lot because I think, and we deal with this today. It's a big issue that has come up with Call Me by Your Name. It's the thing of, you are right. The people in this movie, there are gay people in the world. I'm friends with many of them that are this extreme, this flamboyant, this fill in the gap. When a gay person is playing that role, it's fine.
Yes.
When a straight person is doing their imitation of a gay person that extreme, it can sometimes...
Do you feel that way about Modern Family with Stone Street, the way he does it?
At times.
Okay.
At times.
Okay.
And so I think that's one of those things. And again, it's a time and place. But I do agree that the pros of this movie far outweigh any kind of cons in that respect. Because I do think that it does walk you into gay culture really well. And I do think a lot of the references and a lot of the subtle nods and a lot of the things that go on, like it really, as someone who this was their first experience with a lot of that, it really does walk you into a lot of that really well, and not only well, but also with care.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I think one of the keys, and it's not the only key, but one of the keys is love. You know, it's like if you're doing this with love,
all you need is love.
All you need is love.
Yeah.
If you're doing it with like affection and love and sensitivity, it's gonna maybe be okay.
I would love to know. Well, maybe I'll watch on the special features how if Mike Nichols or Elaine May ran the script by some of their gay friends to see, hey, what references would. Yeah, it would be interesting to see.
There's very little. I did some research on the movie. There's not that much out there.
Oh, really?
Like in terms of
interviews and stuff like that.
I mean, I didn't spend hours and hours and hours searching.
No, I mean,
but like, no, as compared to other films where there's just epic.
Yeah. I trust your research. I'm just saying.
I think West Hollywood probably has archives somewhere. I'll go check the gay archive, guys. I bet there's some stuff.
And now we're at the moment where Val finally tells Armand about the parents and what he wants him to do.
Dad, Barbara's father is a senator. He's a conservative senator, and he's running for re-election. And she told him that you were the cultural attaché to Greece and Albert was a housewife.
What?
She had to. He's a founder of the Coalition for Moral Order.
I don't care who he is. I don't want to be somebody else. Do you want me to be someone else?
It's a great reaction by Robbie Williams, right? These are the moments that you have his dramatic moments. It took me 20 years to get here. And then you're asking me to change.
Well, and then we get to what are we going to do about Albert?
Yeah.
And they, can you just send him away?
Oh.
I mean, and this is where you're just like, when you're watching the movie, especially now, you're like, you're a dick.
Awful.
I do agree.
This man loves you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Raised you.
Fucking raised you.
Your mother doesn't even
send him away.
Your mother hasn't even known you.
Yeah, it's awful. And by the way, let's also change everything in the apartment. We have to, you know what I mean?
But I will say this: it's awful, granted. But boy, this shit gets funny fast.
Yes.
It does. And then he's like, "Oh, and can you change your mannerisms? Be a little less obvious."
Oof.
It's terrible. But there's a great speech, because he notices that he touches his face and sees that there's makeup on it.
Yes, I wear foundation. Yes, I live with a man. Yes, I'm a middle-aged fag. But I know who I am, Val. Took me 20 years to get here, and I'm not gonna let some idiot senator destroy that. Fuck the senator. I don't give a damn what he thinks.
That is an amazing speech.
And again, and this is where representation is so important. Again, I mean, I can't say this enough, but I think probably this movie and Real World San Francisco with Pedro Zamora were the two things as a kid. Like it was, I think by this point Will and Grace was out there too, had come out. But these were the things that in my lifetime, like Pedro Zamora on Real World San Francisco, Ellen coming out of the closet, this movie. These were the things that this was the representation. And before that, when I was really young, there were no gay characters for me to even look at to try and emulate anywhere. And thankfully that's changed a lot. And we have a lot more of that today. But yeah, that's where a speech like that to a closeted kid, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
It's funny because the country has vacillated, right? I mean, when he says 20 years, he's talking about the 70s, right? He started, in the 70s coming out, being what he was. We find out later with Bransky that he was doing these plays, but everybody knew he was gay and these kinds of things. And then he probably had to go back into the closet in the 80s when the super conservative Reagan and all the Republicans were
he
there.
was in South Beach. He was probably okay.
Well, we don't know if he was in South Beach the whole time, do we? I don't remember if he is or not.
I'm going to go check the gay archives.
Okay, please do. It's like a Thatcher's built library. Go to Thatcher's library, open it up, and take a look at it. But yeah, it's so. So when he has that moment, he is speaking for gay men of that age who've been through the wars of it. Because if you read this, if you look at the history of gay men in the 70s and those riots and the anger and the gay bashing and the way they hit, there's many documentaries about the gay culture through the 50s, 60s, and 70s. What a horrible existence that was in this country.
And then you hit the 80s and everybody was dying. So
yeah,
it was a rough.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. He survived that to be this club owner now. Yeah.
The press is still camped out around Senator's house. One of the reporters, who I think is, National Enquirer or something, bribes the chauffeur, finds out they're going to South Beach. Jay Leno's now making jokes about this thing. Gene's trying to climb out the window.
God, him trying to climb out that window. I mean, the physical comedy of that is so good.
And then he's out the window and all the reporters find him on the ladder.
And his whole giving his little press conference on the ladder and he's turning around as if it's totally fine and this is normal.
And the little victory sign at the end. I mean, that's amazing.
It's everything.
And then we're back with Robin in the bar and they're trying to fix the place. And there's Hank Azaria just stealing every damn scene.
Yeah. We've got to get rid of everything that's over the top.
Ay. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to get yourself a uniform and dress like a butler.
No, I'm gonna look like a fag.
Maybe, but you look like a fag in a uniform.
And I love that Val comes up and goes, "Pop, thank you." And Robin Williams' reaction is like, "Don't talk to me for a while."
Yeah.
This is not. I'm not. You're not. I'm doing this, but I'm not forgiving you.
Fathers across multiple generations have had that reaction.
Yeah.
Well, and also it's good that they didn't. They played that right. I mean, I'm gonna do this for you, but I'm not happy about it. And also that's a tough spot to get to, and he just nails that moment.
Yeah. We're in the car driving down. He's still eating candy.
Yep.
Reporters are following him. We're back in South Beach, and they're trying to keep Albert out of the apartment. We go for a nice walk on the beach. And Armand hasn't told him yet. And he's kind of, well, take a couple of days off. You look tired.
Oh my God, which don't ever.
Yeah. Tired means old.
Yeah. Don't say that ever.
And now he's like, hey, we'll go window shopping. And Albert's like, I want to go home. And then he's trying to go home. Armand's like, oh, I hurt my ankle.
So, and then he walks in and thinks that,
We've been robbed.
And Val is like, oh, don't worry. They'll be back by the time you come back. You didn't tell
Back?
them. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Where am I going?
That moment.
This is, by the way, this is classic farce. You have somebody who doesn't know a thing, trying to keep them from knowing a thing, and then they find out the thing at the wrong time.
And boy, does he play this up.
I see.
It's just for tonight.
I understand. It's just while people are here. It's all right, my darling. It's nothing. It's painful, but it's not important. I'm leaving.
Just one night out.
And it's a fine line between you do genuinely feel bad for him and you're like, this is a shitty thing for them to do, and also he is so overly dramatic. It's amazing.
I love too the fact that Armand says Val's fiance is coming with her parents, and we thought it would look better if you weren't here. Mm-hmm. He didn't think that.
No, he takes it on because he's dad.
Yeah. And by the way, this is an important relationship thing.
Yeah.
Is there are times when you have to say a thing that you do not like, and it makes you very unhappy, and you have to take it on to protect your partner or protect
your child.
Yeah. That's rough.
The monster, the freak, is leaving.
Because Armand chases him down.
Yes.
And he's fainting. He brings him to a restaurant. And Robin Williams says this is because the girl's parents are assholes.
Yeah.
Val loves you.
Yeah.
Val's not really showing that right now. And Albert says, I can play it straight.
Oh my God.
Well, this is the hidden undercurrent of the movie. Do you think Val is not 100% happy with having two dads? Because he almost never shows affection to Albert. Almost never. Like, she has to convince him to kiss him in the morning. Remember? And she's like, are you too old to give your mom a kiss? Blah, blah, blah. So he never treats her with any kind of affection.
I don't think so. I mean,
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying he's an asshole.
The way it all plays to me is that he was fine growing up in this life, but he also recognizes what it looks like, and he is image conscious and wants to. Like, I don't think that he's having an issue with it.
Okay.
But I mean, I could be wrong. But it never struck me that way.
Well, John's question was, do you think he's not 100% happy with having two dads?
Yeah.
Of course he's not 100% happy because he is image conscious. There are all these things about it that make him unhappy.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean he doesn't love these two people.
Right.
But
Of course, there's an element of that.
But he is not 100% happy. Absolutely. And then we have, this is a great scene with how do we get Albert to be more masculine.
Oh my
the
God.
pinky, the mustard, the piercing of the toast.
Please.
I pissed the toast.
It is hilarious.
Everything leads to that John Wayne walk.
And the John Wayne walk, and then Robin Williams' response, like, was that all right? It was perfect. I just never realized John Wayne walked that way.
And he's right.
That is funny.
He's right. Watching it again and having recently gotten back into John Wayne Westerns, he walks like Albert walks in that scene. And I'm just like, damn, he's right. The joke works so well.
It's so funny. Yeah. And that is like a perfect mix of a beautifully written joke and a perfectly performed walk and a perfect response. And it's just a hilarious moment.
By the way, the start of that scene is that old grandma in the jacket with the hat on sitting next to reading the paper.
Oh, right.
That extra was incredible.
There's a couple extras. There's one at the very end of this movie we'll get to that is my favorite extra of any movie of all time. But we'll get there.
How did you feel when you saw Gene Hackman driving that car and take the turnoff for Gainesville?
Loved it. I think actually when we were in the theater in Gainesville, I think people like cheered when that happened. Like everyone was like, "Oh, it's Gainesville!"
Of course.
Yes, yes.
Now we're doing some more masculinity training. How about those dolphins?
How do you feel? How do you think I felt? Betrayed, bewildered.
Fucking A.
Fucking A.
Fucking A. And then ends up getting into an altercation with some giant man.
Oh, I love that guy.
And we end up back with an ice pack on our head.
Yep.
Are you calling me an asshole?
And now Val's got a problem with Hank Azaria. Can we hire a straight maid?
Yeah.
There are no straight maids in South Beach.
Also, we call out to the prop people on this movie because the first of all, the ridiculously gay sculptures and art that they did have up, that's just that's a lot of gay art, and then replacing it with the things they replace it with.
Oh, the giant crucifix.
The giant crucifix being the best one. And although the joke is later, a series of Nancy Drew books.
And now we get to, I love the Nancy Drew books. And now we get to that we've told Albert he can stay and he's going to be an uncle or something. And what we really could use is a woman, and it's like, why don't I just ask your mother? And
by the way, if you didn't know this movie was gay friendly, they went ahead and put Christine Baranski in it.
She's awesome. She's
sexy as hell in this movie too.
She is.
Oh,
Great.
yeah. And so we head off to see Christine Baranski. And one of the things I noticed in this scene, by the way, the color coordination in this film is amazing. The costumes that Albert and Armand are wearing, that then they're like yellow themed, and it's just with the backgrounds, it's all just beautiful. And we go in and meet Christine Baranski, and this is when we hear some of their history.
Armand Goldman.
It's been 100 years.
Yep. And Albert's waiting outside, and we find out that they were, in a show together, and they dance. And this is another Sondheim song that they're doing when they're doing their little dance. And then she continues to flirt with him and flirt more. And Albert's in the waiting room reading a book that's something about butts or something.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is Christine Baranski's business?
I thought it was like fitness, like a jazzercise. I don't know,
maybe.
I think it was something like that. But yeah, and also just the shade that he's throwing, that Albert is throwing at the receptionist.
Oh my God.
It's just like these like looks between, like it's just great.
And Armand explains what he wants, and she says, "Of course I'll do it. I'll be happy to help."
Yeah.
Of course I'm not exactly. I love what she says. I'm not exactly maternal. While she pulls that cork out of the champagne bottle between her legs, and Armand's response is fantastic.
Don't worry about that. I'm very maternal. And Albert's practically a breast.
That's a great Elaine May. I'm sure that's an Elaine May line.
Yeah.
And then she's starting to unbutton that shirt.
What is this all about? Watching it again this time, I'd never thought that she was nefarious, but she's a little nefarious here because she is unbuttoning his. She walks him down the memory lane, dancing together. Remember, we were da-da-da-da. Then she sits him down. She compliments him the whole time about his body used to be, and then she starts to open his shirt.
No, she wants him. I mean,
she does, right?
I mean, I don't know that she's
It's
nefarious.
dirty.
She's not nefarious. She's horny.
She's horny.
Oh, fine.
This, for whatever reason,
fair.
Armand 20 years ago and Armand today is the thing she wants.
Yeah, but isn't Albert in the waiting? Doesn't she know Albert's in the waiting area?
They're not married.
Oh, dirty. Dirty.
She is a dirty.
I can't live. This is why I can't live in the gay culture. I can't do it. It's too much. It's too much. I can't do it. But no, because when he opens the door,
yeah, Albert comes in.
She's not. She don't go. She just like looks at him. Like she's like it's like a mama bear, man, or whatever. A lioness looking at him.
Well, like she said, she's not very maternal.
She isn't.
She is not very maternal.
Yeah.
And Albert runs out. I love he gets in the car, honks the horn, screams.
The screaming when he honks the horn.
Armand comes home looking for Albert. Hank is continuing to redecorate. Val just wants to know if his mom is going to come.
Right.
Because he's just eyes on the prize.
Val, just the worst.
Yeah. He's the worst.
What was he? Fuck Grandpa Joe. Fuck Val.
Yeah, a little bit. I agree. And Albert comes down. And it's so funny because we are with both Albert and Armand.
Mm-hmm.
As Albert is, I don't think he's actually overreacting at this point. You know what I mean? He is being overly dramatic.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
I do think
Thank
in
you, Steve.
1996, it came across as overreacting a little bit. And I think today, he is completely justified.
Yeah.
I'm glad you feel that way.
His method of expressing himself is extremely dramatic, which leads Armand to say, it's a good thing there's a crucifix here.
Shouldn't you be?
It is the proper martyrs.
It is the proper martyrs.
And this is where he has the toothbrush.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm taking my toothbrush. He's like, you're taking your toothbrush to the cemetery. How Egyptian of you.
Egyptian. It's so great. But his eyes are perfect.
But he also has this line.
Oh, yes. Another jibe. Another joke at my expense. You were probably laughing at me with Catherine, too. Well, why not? I'm not young. I'm not new. And everyone laughs at me. I'm quite aware of how ridiculous I am, and I've been thinking that the only solution is to go where nobody is ridiculous, where everyone is equal. Goodbye, Armand.
That is a... Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you yaying me?
Sometimes
You guys,
a little more understanding.
For everyone listening, if you could see John's expression and how much he is relating to Albert in this moment, which leads us to the next scene, which I do believe John and I
one more thing, which
Yeah.
is that she leaves or he leaves, and pronoun problems as always.
She leaves.
She leaves. And Val says,
It's all right. It'll be better without an uncle.
I swear to God. I mean, again, seeing it when I was a kid, I was like, okay, I mean, it's not great, but I get it. And like the older I get and the more that I watch this movie, the more that I hate him so much.
yeah, I agree. Fuck Val.
I think he's going to become a Republican senator. I just think the conservative senator.
But then we go to the scene, this
Yes.
lovely, lovely scene that I do know John and I have several times in life referenced as that's clearly us.
If we ever do this play, we will absolutely kill the shit out of this scene.
I totally would love to see this.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. And I love they're at like a bus stop.
It's a
and the
beautiful scene,
giant
man.
container ship in the background. Like, I don't know. That must have just been luck. I don't think
Maybe.
this movie could
Yeah,
have
sure.
afforded to control a container ship all day in, the harbor at South Beach.
And I love the black guy and his two kids walking by in like the brightest colors in the world because it's South Beach. They're just walking right by with fish bowls. But Steve, this is one of the most beautiful scenes of love I've ever seen in a movie. In the middle of this madcap comedy, there is this moment and this scene. And in any romantic movie I've ever seen in my entire life, any movie, period, this is in the top 5 to 10 scenes ever of genuine romantic connection between two people. And it's incredible. And it's one of the things that I pitch the movie about whenever I talk about the movie. People haven't seen it. That one scene will change your life.
Well, and it's the thing that makes the movie work.
Yeah.
Is that this is a real, as crazy and ridiculous and dramatical as it is, this is a real relationship.
Yes.
And I think that you think back to like straight people watching this movie back when it came out. This is the moment where people went, "Oh, I get it."
Yeah.
Like
us.
a married couple watching this movie who at the beginning was like, "Whoa, this is a lot." Like this is the moment where you're like, "Oh, yeah, I get this. I get it."
That's true. You're not young, and you're not new, and you do make people laugh. And me, I'm still with you because you make me laugh. So you know what I gotta do? I gotta sell my plot in Key Biscayne so I can get one next to you in that shithole Las Copa, so I never miss a laugh.
And the interesting thing about this moment is, as best as they could do in 1996, this moment is both a proposal and a marriage.
Yeah.
You know, and I really think like I totally agree. Like this is the key scene in the movie. And I think what's happening here is slowly legitimizing this couple as a married couple, just like any other married couple.
And you have to have this scene so that when he shows up a little bit later as a woman, this is the basis of that. Like you have to have that love, because the whole time up until this scene, she has been doubting his feelings. She's going through a crisis of affection that Armand actually cares about her.
Right.
And then when he shows up, and Robin Williams, this is some of the greatest acting he's ever done. It's very subtle, and this is a manic person. It's so incredibly subtle and perfect.
It's
and
a quiet moment, and then just to get to the point where like
it's like that Good Will Hunting on the bench.
Yes.
You know, that's this part of Robin Williams that's just amazing.
Man,
and
does
it's
his best
that
work.
and it's that beautiful moment when he like gives Albert the palimony, and he's like, "I don't want it." He's like, "I don't want it." He's like, "It's all yours." All
right.
He's like, "Take it."
But he says, "What does it care if you say I can stay, or I say you can stay? No matter where it is, I just want to be there with you." And it's like, damn, man.
Love you too.
Shut up,
Love you, John.
Yes, I know.
I wish you two could see what's going on. But what's really funny is we're sitting in my house, and usually when Roka and I record the podcast, I'm sitting where Michael is sitting.
Sure.
And now I'm sitting across from them, and they're sitting next to each other, and I'm so happy that this is where we ended up, because you guys look so cute right now.
This is how we're going to be at the end. Sitting in a nursing home going, Mike's like, here's the Vogel fortune once and for all. What does it matter if I can stay or you can stay?
Wow.
Pretty much. By the way, I like how John just subtly took all my money.
Your money.
It's real subtle.
We're totally going to be buried next to each other. I'll just tell you that now. I'll tell you that right now.
They leave a message for mom and say, "Don't come."
And also, this is also just from a structural point. This is the turning point. At this point in the movie, all the pins are up.
Right.
We have established everything. We've put everything into place. And from this point forward, it is just a downhill rush of crazy, crazy shit. And this is where every single thing starts to pay off.
Yep. Armand is now dressed in a very nice suit, which he thinks he looks like his grandfather, who killed himself when he was 30. And again, Val, man, he says, "Don't walk too much. Try not to gesture." Oh God. And right in this moment of, I will say, fuck Val, that's when Albert enters, also wearing a suit, and that is just it's a shocking moment.
It is.
And the
great part about it is they've managed to take somebody who has been dressed flamboyantly for the entire movie and put them in something that is quote unquote normal, and they look completely wrong.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing to be able to do.
And yet it's a beautiful suit, and he looks, you know what I mean? Like it's wrong. It's not that he looks bad.
No.
And part of it too is Nathan Lane's performance and their reaction to his performance. Every move is conscious. Like it's like all three of us have been on stage and have acted at various times in our lives, and seen, like, particularly with beginning actors, one of the big problems they have is, wait, how do I walk?
Yeah.
What do I do with my hands? And that's what we're seeing Nathan Lane doing, is like he can't cross his leg. His arm slides down. It's so awkward and painful.
But it's like the best part about this suit, don't forget, he's got this suit on, and then he crosses his leg.
Yeah.
and he's got the pink socks, and everyone's like, "What?" He's like, "Well, one does want a hint of color."
Yeah, it's so painful.
And I think what's really powerful here watching it now is this is a gay man showing you this situation, and it's almost a shot at these people who think, oh, you can just educate people, educate the gayness out of you, send them to a camp.
Conversion therapy?
Yeah, conversion therapy. This is what you see is a restrained animal, a restrained wild. This was a person who was very free and enjoyed life, and you're taking the freedom away from them, and you're turning them into a robot, almost a robot. And you see that, and I think Nathan Lane, I wonder if Nathan Lane brought that into this particular part of this scene so that he could, in a way, kind of subtly take a shot at people who were still talking like that, very powerfully so, in the mid-90s.
I think, again, him actually being a gay person, like that, like
Right.
it is one of those things. Every person who has ever grown up gay and had to deal with coming out of the closet, at some point in your life, you got stressed out about how you held your hand, how you crossed your leg. Like, you think about these things when you're growing up, because you actually do. I can say, because I remember, like, you start to watch other guys in school to see how they sit or how they're putting their arms, to make sure that you're doing that, because you are so afraid that you're going to do something that is going to tip somebody off.
Yeah. And here's these two people who have worked so hard to be who they are.
Yeah.
Now having to essentially go back in the closet. And what's so sad about the scene is that Albert is the only reason he's doing this is out of complete love.
Yep.
This is a total sacrifice. And he has this moment where they're staring at him, and he goes,
You're thinking that dressed this way, I'm even more obvious, aren't you? You're right. I just wanted so much to help you. And you hate me.
you know, because he knows he's failing, and they know he's failing at doing this thing. In the meantime, Hank Azaria is singing "Hard for the Money," dressed in this white tux with no shoes. And Val is all over him. Just put some shoes on. Give me a break.
He's such a
I cannot wear shoes because they make me fall down.
And the phone rings, and it's Catherine, and he says, "Yeah, come."
Val is such a dick, man.
I love Armand. He goes, "So this is hell, and there's a crucifix in it."
But also think about this for Armand. Like, his son is basically like, you're an embarrassment. His partner is just depressed and rightly very deeply hurt. Right. You've got these conservative people coming to your house. All of your stuff has been moved out. I mean, like, it really is hell.
Brutal. Albert has locked himself in a room. Armand says a little prayer to the crucifix, despite the fact that he's Jewish. And I had really forgotten the one element, which is the Goldman-Coleman, which is not just that we don't want you to be gay, but we don't want you to be Jewish.
Jewish either, yeah.
That's a lot of stuff.
God, it's a good thing that we've moved past all this in our country.
Yeah, we're good now. The doorbell rings, and of course, Spartacus he hits the ground. He can't walk in those shoes.
It's the Jews.
And he opens up, "I'm the Goldman's butler," and immediately we're into this. Wait, Goldman? Coleman.
Yeah.
Goldman, Coleman. And that's when we find out that the books are Nancy Drew.
I love these books.
And this whole thing is just beautifully, perfectly uncomfortable.
Yes.
And to make matters worse, reporters are starting to show up outside. And we're starting to wonder, where's the wife? Where's Mrs. Goldman/Coleman? And, you know, and they're trying to do the typical sort of meet the parents story. They're telling their engagement story. And then Gene Hackman starts to tell a story about the drive.
We decided to drive down to see the seasons change. It was a long trip, though. Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia. But it's just so magical to me to come from the north, where it's cold, to the south, where it's warm.
I mean, and like, the best part about this is that Gene Hackman just gets this faraway look. Like, he's not really looking at anybody. He's sort of just staring off into space because it's so uncomfortable, and he's just going to keep talking just to fill the awkward silence.
My wife and I used to go down to Virginia every autumn to see the foliage turn. Virginia has amazing foliage, although I do think that the foliage in Ohio is underrated.
And he knows it's horrible, and he knows he's not saying anything, and no one says anything. So he just, and this goes on. This is that rare thing in comedy of doing something that's funny, and then it becomes less funny, and then it becomes less funny, and then it's completely not funny, and then it continues to go on until it becomes funny and funnier, and then hilarious again.
The hills, the mountains. Talk about your purple mountains majesty. Just fantastic.
Leaves. So many browns. Reds. Changing.
He's just gone.
Just
He's
gone.
Yeah, I kept writing in my notes about Gene is still going, and he's still talking,
Red leaves, purple mountains, green fields.
Robin wants to go for a moment, can't find his way through the curtains. Val follows.
Oh, God.
So much is going wrong
gets into
so
the kitchen.
quickly. I'm sweating like a farm animal. And Diane Wiest and Gene Hackman are like, something odd's going on.
Yeah.
But they think it's. I mean, this is.
They think it's embarrassed by Jackson.
Because
of Jackson.
Yeah.
They think it's they know about.
They
this
know,
story. Yeah.
and they're embarrassed of us. We're the problem.
But by the way, we didn't touch on this, but one of her great lines in the movie, is when she says, Jackson was a hillbilly. We can't be like this whole idea of elitism is very prevalent through the whole thing. Even with the sweetest people in the movie, like Diane Wiest, there is this level of elitism all around.
Well, and we don't actually know where he's a senator from.
Right.
It seems like Northeast or
Yes.
Midwest,
Seems like
or
Massachusetts or something.
Yeah. And there is a weird alliance between Southern conservatives and Northern conservatives where they don't actually agree on a whole bunch of stuff.
Right.
And we just find out, like, where's the wife? Oh, well, she's stuck in traffic. She'll be here in about 30 minutes. And Albert enters.
Here I am. Oh, please forgive me for being so late, but the traffic was unbelievable. Senator Keeley, Mrs. Keeley, I'm so happy to meet you at last. And, you must be Barbara.
I mean, just the greatest dress, the greatest wig.
Perfect.
Nathan Lane is so perfect.
And just really, what they do so well is they set up. Hold on, I'm texting someone about this dress that I'm wearing tonight for my drag birthday party.
Excuse me?
I have a drag birthday party tonight. Speaking of
What?
Birdcage, and I just got
Hold
texted.
Wait, why have we not known about this?
Listen, this is how it works in life, boys.
Wow.
My friend
You
is
never
having,
go in drag.
My friend is having a birthday party tonight, and it is drag race themed, and drag is required. And not only is drag required, but thematically, the theme is monochromatic Pantone. So you have to be in all one color. And I was stressing out because the dress that I ordered on Amazon made me look frumpy, and I did not like it. And fortunately, one of my friends was like, "What color are you?" And I'm like, "I'm going to be blue." And he just texted me a picture of the dress, and it looks lovely. I think it will fit. He is a very beautiful drag queen. And so I'm going to have that. And I decided, because I am not going to be a beautiful drag queen, that my thing tonight is going to be that I am a very boho chic artist. I got some cat-eyed glasses and a blue wig. And I think my name is going to be Annie Mae Shun.
Sure.
That's hilarious.
So this is the first time I'm doing drag. I have to leave after this, and I have to go to Sephora and find some blue makeup. So
who's Starina again? In this relationship? Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah.
I'm going to look fabulous. So,
I'm sure you will.
A nice sidebar in a little window into my life. But anyways, back to what I was saying was, what's so great is they build up all the tension, as we were saying. It is so uncomfortable. This is the worst dinner party of all time.
Yeah.
And then Albert comes in
As if it's not uncomfortable.
and literally saves everything. Like,
yeah.
we've gone through this whole movie going, you're the problem, you're the problem, you're going to ruin this. We need to get rid of you. We need to get rid of you. We need to get rid of you. You're the problem.
Yeah. Oh.
And then Albert comes in fully 1,000% Albert.
Yeah.
Right.
And in 2 seconds, and the way that you really save this is the way you know it's going to be okay, and to your point, is the Coleman Goldman thing.
Yeah.
Because he comes out and says Goldman, and Gene Hackman's like, we've been confused. Is it Goldman? Is it Goldman or Coleman? And there's this Nathan Lane deadpan face, and he goes,
Oh, yes, Coleman. The D is silent in America. It's Col d'Ilomont or Cole of the Isle of Man in France, where Armand's chateau is, and Colderman in Greece, where Armand's work is, and finally the Volga Coleman in Florida, where Armand's home is. So actually, we don't know where we are until we hear our last name pronounced.
and after that moment, there is a palpable sigh from everybody.
Yeah.
Everyone on, like, for Val and everyone on this side, that, oh my God, we might get through this. And from Gene Hackman and Diane Wiest in, oh God, finally this isn't so uncomfortable anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And Callista walks up and goes, I think I will hug you now.
and I love that that her persona is like, well, I'm just a small town girl, you know. I want to just take care of my man. She's playing so far into exactly what they want. Yeah. In the meantime, more reporters are showing up now. TV reporters are showing up, and we come back, and Gene is having a ball because these are good people.
Yes,
these are
solid.
And they get, you know, they don't have fancy books. They got a crucifix on the wall.
Right.
They talk about gays in the military. I mean, like
gays in the military. Oh,
there's an Alexander the Great reference.
You know, I think homosexuality.
Lots more ice for you. Lots more ice, Dad.
One of the things that's weakening this country.
Really? You know, that's what I thought until I found out Alexander the Great was a fag. Talk about gays in the military.
How about those dolphins, huh?
Yeah. Which is brilliant.
Alexander Great was a...
But Diane Wiest starts, as Hackman becomes more comfortable,
Diane Wiest
starts to
gets
become more
uncomfortable.
skeptical.
Well,
yeah.
not only skeptical,
and jealous.
Jealous.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Which I think
Diane
is
Wiest.
really-
Diane Wiest is sitting there, and she's like,
Yeah.
why is my husband so enamored of this woman?
And then we get into killing abortion doctors.
The doctors are only doing their jobs. If you're going to kill someone, kill the mothers. That'll stop them.
May I see you for a moment, dear?
Oh, I know what you're going to say. If you kill the mother, the fetus dies too. But the fetus is going to be aborted anyway, so why not let it go down with the ship?
It's so awful.
Horribly
And amazing.
funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, like, they literally hit all the buttons. And when you go back and watch it now, you're like, shit, we are still talking about all of this.
Yep.
But,
And it's, again, Gene just is eating it up.
Yeah.
And we're playing the piano. We're singing I Could Have Danced All Night. We're having a ball.
Spread my wings and done 1,000 things I never done before.
I hope your mother knows I'm going to have a career after we're married.
Barbara, Albert is not my mother. He's a drag queen.
Oh, that's right.
But I love the shot of Albert and Gene Hackman coming into frame dancing. I could have danced all this. And then Agador comes out and says,
I only know when he began to dance with me, I could have danced all night.
He is talented.
so talented.
very talented.
Yeah, why doesn't Armand want him in the show?
I'm in the show. It'd be great.
And we go, dinner is served. Armand goes, you know what? I'm just going to put a note on the door for Catherine. We sit down to dinner. There are these beautiful dishes.
God. And Wiest.
What interesting china. Why, it looks like young men playing leapfrog. Is it Greek?
I love the slow, like, the audience has figured out what's on these dishes, but they haven't figured, let me get my glasses, and the rush to go get the soup and get that soup in the bowls. It is really funny.
Yours doesn't have a girl. Mine has a girl. There's a girl on mine.
Oh, that's a boy.
That's a boy.
Yep.
I don't think
Those Greeks.
I don't think this is very good soup. And that's apparently all the food we have is the soup. And this is where we pretty much freak out.
The hell are you serving us?
Sweet and sour peasant soup. What'd you say is seafood chowder for?
The hell is sweet and sour peasant soup?
I don't know. I made it up.
Oh, God, this is a nightmare.
There is a moment where Robin Williams and Hank Azaria and Val are freaking out in the kitchen.
Oh, yes.
And
he's drinking.
And
yeah.
He's drinking. Agador's
drinking.
falling.
Agador's falling, yeah.
Agador's crying because he's so upset because the stew is a mess, and Robin Williams is just like, shut up, shut up, shut up.
It's okay. We're all right. It's fine. Just shut up, goddamn you. It's all right. Stop crying. Goddamn you. What are you standing there for? Go. Go. She'll be here in a minute. Go. Damn it. Fuck the shrimp.
And it's just this moment of contained, quiet chaos.
Yes.
Because they can't let anybody know, but they're losing it.
Yeah. And what's brilliant is it's the button on top of that scene is Hank Azaria falling for one more time right as they cut. It's just perfect. And you see Robin start to break. You see Robin start laughing before they do the cut.
It's one of my favorite
great.
moments of the entire movie,
Yes.
just because it's just this visceral, what the fuck is happening moment.
Yeah.
The news van is now pulled up. Val goes down and puts the note on the door. The reporters see the note. They read the note, which says, Catherine, whatever you do, don't go upstairs. I'll call you tomorrow, Armand. The reporters take the note. This is going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Back to dinner. Albert has had a lot to drink at this point. Catherine is almost there. And everyone seems to be having a really good time at the party. And then Albert moves suddenly and the wig starts to go.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Which is, we knew we were heading in this direction.
Mm-hmm.
This is where this was inevitably going to end up.
Yeah. And Barbara runs to go help her, take her to the bathroom. Armand goes to help. Val goes to help. And we've left Diane, Wiest, and Gene Hackman alone. Diane Wiest is starting to get real suspicious.
She does not like any of this.
Yeah. And of course, Gene Hackman knows exactly what's going on. It's the oldest story in the world.
Yeah. This is just
Small-town
the
girl.
best.
He's a pretentious European. He has figured it all out.
He is so... he is so just like, what is it he says? He goes, breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Just it breaks his heart that this poor woman is being treated this way because she is salt of the earth.
Right.
She is what America is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the bathroom, they're trying to get this wig on. Diane Wiest is now pissed because it's very clear that he's really into this woman.
Yeah. Right in front of her.
Yep.
And because he's so oblivious of the way he's treated her, probably her entire marriage.
And the doorbell rings.
Hello? I'm home. I forgot my key.
Who is it?
It's Val's mother, Mrs. Goldman.
Yeah.
I love, she comes in and there's this, let me take your purse like I've done a million times before, or whatever that is.
Still trying to create the lie. Yeah.
Yep, still trying to do it. And then back in comes all of the rest of the people, including Nathan Lane. And it's like, well, how many mothers does Val have?
And this is one moment where Val is not fuck Val.
Yeah.
Finally, just one. This is my mother.
Yep.
This is my mother. My father owns a nightclub downstairs. My mother is the star.
What?
And then it's like, nice to meet you, real mom. And she's like, nice to meet you too.
Yeah, I know. That's a little bit weird.
And then Gene Hackman's full mental breakdown.
Oscar performance.
I don't understand. Which then culminates in, I don't understand. You can't be Jewish. Because the other thing, he can't even wrap his head around.
No.
And then Diane Wiest.
He's a man. They're both men.
You can't be. You can't be Jewish.
No, Kevin. This is a man.
What?
They're both men. I mean, just this full realization, and Gene Hackman cannot square the fact that this woman, who he thinks is everything that's good about America, is not a woman. Is just watching him not be able to come to grips with it is one of the best things that Gene Hackman has ever done.
It's so funny because I love tough guy Gene Hackman. I like French Connection Gene Hackman. I like Crimson Tide Gene Hackman. I like, there's a million unbelievable Gene Hackman performances. I love Bewildered.
Yeah.
Bewildered Gene Hackman is maybe my favorite thing.
It's so funny.
What? I don't understand.
So, of course, they want to leave, but now Barbara wants to stay with the Goldmans. And that's when Diane Wiest starts to lose it.
And this is her I want someone to like me best
Oh my
speech.
God, it's great.
This is it's just like she's so mad, and then it just breaks down emotionally. She's like, I want someone to like me best.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And then the what does he say to Barbara? He says,
Barbara, I've made your mother cry. I'm up for re-election. We're in the middle of a scandal. I'm in the home of a gay couple who own a drag club. I realize you want to get married, but how many lives do you have to ruin to do it?
and then he opens the door and does that like quick pullback. Like there's the flash and the boom. Like it's like
Yep. And all the reporters are out there. This is the moment where Barbara, Calista Flockhart, goes, she thinks it's over. I would really like to have you as my family. That's nice. It's a nice moment.
Yeah, Calista doesn't get a lot of moments in the movie, but that moment was really sweet.
Yeah, so we're swarmed around by reporters, and it's like there's obviously going to be no way to go out. And they finally come up with, like, we're trapped. This is going to be the end of his political career. This is going to be the end of everything. They finally say, well, maybe you could sneak out with the audience. And Gene Hackman's like, no, they'll be waiting for that. Not necessarily.
And this is just like one of those great moments. Like this is where a comedy is just so tight, where it's just like it's an inevitable conclusion.
Yep.
And it's 1,000% satisfying.
And I don't know that I saw it coming until it would never have occurred to me up until this point of the movie that Gene Hackman was going to end up in drag.
Yeah.
And it's this great thing where these people that have no business being around each other, these people that were just destined to not get along, find themselves in such dire circumstances that they all become allies.
Yeah.
Like there's that great moment where it's like, had you not had the pressure of the reporters, it would be like, I leave, I go, we're done, you're not getting married. But because of this pressure and because of this situation, all of a sudden these people that I have no business being around and don't want to be around are my only hope of salvation.
And we're back in the club and we're doing the intro to We Are Family. And hey, Armand looks like Armand again. He's back to being himself and he's whispering to all of his staff. A moving truck pulls out outside. Reporters are just there ready for this thing to happen. The dancers come out and take bows, and there is Gene Hackman.
And I mean, boys, this is how I think I'm going to look tonight at this party. Like, he is not an attractive woman, and I think that this is the road that I'm on this afternoon.
Oh, stop it! But I love his reaction. The bewildered reaction is great upstairs in the room. This reaction where he is going back, like experiencing it, and then he kind of gets into it where he's enjoying it against his better wishes.
There's a lot of stuff going on there.
So much as he is trying to blend in, but him trying to sing the lyrics,
yes,
is the best. He's like,
and he's upset that nobody's dancing with him. And
yes,
likewise,
that's what I mean.
That is,
Diane Wiest looks like she takes it like a duck to water.
Yeah,
with the leather and everything, she's happy.
Oh, it is hilarious. And I love don't leave me here. I don't want to be the only girl not dancing. And then there's Albert to save the day, and they go to dance, and there's just that wonderful moment of confusion about who would lead.
Yep.
And we dance outside of the club.
And just dance off, and then there's that great line to his driver. He's like, "Meet me out back." He's like, "Not in a million years, buddy."
Yeah. And we hop and we hop into the truck and we disappear and we cut to credits.
Yeah.
And a wedding.
And the best extra in the history of life.
Oh, there it is.
When you watch this, everybody, when you go watch this movie, there's a shot. It's like, you have the great moment. It's all the gays on one side, all the conservatives on the other side. This beautiful moment. But there's this one shot where you cut to the extras, and on the side, there is a woman that I'm pretty sure has died.
Oh.
Her eyes are just wide open, and she's sitting there, and she's not moving, and she's like very
and now I have to
skinny.
go back and look at this.
And she's just sitting there, and whoever's talking, I think it's two of the conservative people. I think I might be wrong. I don't think she blinks the entire time. She's just sitting there, and I'm pretty sure she might be dead.
Wow. And we're at this wedding, which is a joint Jewish Christian wedding with the, Armand and Albert and their family and friends on one side, and the senator's people on the other side, and this is what it's going to be.
Yeah, and Albert loudly crying.
Bawling.
Yes.
And this brings us to the end of the Birdcage.
And it is such a, like in that classic comedy, in classic terms, like playwriting class, you learn that a comedies end with a wedding. Like that's how every classic comedy ends. And that's how this one ends. I mean, it just ends with that perfect wedding, right. and everybody's come together. Like everybody is a family. I mean, they literally, to your point of the opening song, all the characters in this movie, who we've met along the way are now officially one giant family.
Yeah. And you have the two drag people have that conversation about one of the conservatives. Oh, he's hot.
Yeah.
I forget who they mentioned that it is, but yeah. So it's coming across, it's walking across the aisle, right? Basically, yeah.
It's obviously a huge hit. It's number one for 3 or 4 weeks in the theater. It's one of the, I'm not sure if it's the biggest comedy of 1996, but it's one of the biggest comedies of 1996.
Yeah.
And I think it has a huge cultural influence at this moment in time, and maybe a personal one on your life.
I mean, I think so. Like I said, I mean, I had already started coming out of the closet to some people, so it was still sort of a secret to most, or at least I thought it was a secret.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I do think seeing this movie, you know, and again, getting back to that scene with the two of them on the bench, that was one of those first times where there were two characters on screen that were discussing a life together and the relationship that they had that were both men.
Yep.
And as funny as it is and as ridiculous it is, that was a thing that I had not seen on screen before.
John.
Yes.
Do you have final thoughts on the Birdcage?
Here's what I'll say. This is a film that you can go back and watch multiple times and enjoy thoroughly. And unfortunately, because it is still topical. But aside from that, it's a great introduction if you're a young person walking into the gay culture for the first time. Sometimes the most uncomfortable things are delivered better through comedy because you can expose your prejudices, your stereotypes, or what have you, and then achieve humanity and understanding as well at the same time. And so to me, this is what I enjoy about the movie. It's incredibly funny. Some of the best acting you'll see in a comedy. The story works. And it's also brilliantly subversive about this battle between a gay and straight, conservative and liberal. This idea that we are actually more alike than we would like to admit, no matter what our political beliefs are. Because with Gene Hackman and Nathan Lane's characters, they're essentially the same. Diane Wiest, Robin Williams, essentially the same. Both caretakers of their prima donna partners.
Right.
And that works for me. And then you have the young kids doing what they're doing.
Who are both assholes.
Who are both assholes, right? Sure. Well, I don't know if she's as much of an asshole as he is. But yes, certainly they have they're selfish in their desires for their happiness over everyone else's. But the film is so vibrant and great, but it's got this incredibly beautiful heart at the middle of it, and that's why I come back and watch it all the time, because it always puts a smile on my face. It always makes me tear up just a little bit, especially that scene between them by the ship and everything. But it always just leaves me with hopefulness when you leave it, and I think a great comedy does that. And this, sometimes people don't talk about it in the same vein as Some Like It Hot or these other great comedies. I think it belongs in the conversation with those classic comedies. Just because it's all in like in vibrant colors doesn't mean it isn't just as good as what you see in Some Like It Hot or any of these other, or The Apartment or whatever.
Yeah, for me, it's funny. Watching this movie, I think what's so great about it is the way that it brings you into this family and exposes you, particularly in 1996, to this thing that seems strange and different and for a lot of America, like not normal or wrong. And in the course of the movie, it convinces you and teaches you like, oh, this is a family. And there's nothing to be scared about with this family. And one of the most interesting feelings I had watching this was I went, oh, on some levels, I don't think this movie has aged that well. And that's a really good thing, because it's not as strange to go into this world as it was 20 years ago.
But I do think I think to your point, it is great that we live in a world now where, you know, you said earlier that for that first shot of those people dancing on stage and they go off and they take off their wigs and it's men, that was shocking to people. And we live in a world now where RuPaul's Drag Race went from being a hit show on Logo that was so good that it's now on VH1. And, you know, people are just exposed to that culture so much more now today. And I think that that's amazing. And I think that in that respect, I'm really glad that Birdcage, to your point, hasn't aged well, because it means that we're clearly doing something right as a society.
Good point.
But for me on my journey, I think what makes Birdcage so special is the fact that for a lot of gay people growing up, they deal with these issues of coming out of the closet and what does that mean for me? And is this a problem? When you're first dealing with that, being gay is actually this giant issue. It's a problem for you. Like, it is a thing that you have to deal with, that you have to overcome, you have to come to grips with, and you're like, what am I going to do? What does this mean for me? And once you finally accept yourself for who you are, I think being gay actually becomes, for a lot of people, their biggest strength. Mm-hmm. And I think that this movie so beautifully represents that, of having something where Albert is the problem. His gayness is the thing that we are trying to solve for and overcome. And ultimately, his gayness is the solution. Like when he fully lets himself be fully in drag, fully flamboyant, fully who he is, it saves the day. And I think that's a really great lesson for anybody. And it's like a personal lesson for me. And I know a personal lesson for a lot of people who went on that journey of going, you know, oh crap, I'm different. Why am I different? Oh, this is why I'm different. This is going to screw up my life. Oh no, it made my life 1,000% more awesome and glitter filled and rainbow colored than I ever thought it could be. And so that I think is a really great message, and kind of like, I think to a degree what I took from that movie as I went on my journey. And also, it is one of the funniest movies ever made. Like, it is absolutely in my top 5 of funniest movies ever made. And I agree with John that, you know, we talk about classic comedies so much, and the classic comedies from like classic movies in this, but this movie is still as funny today as it always was, and I think deserves a spot on one of the great comedies of cinema.
That's great. So that's what we think of the Birdcage. Of course, we always want to hear what you think. You can reach us on our Facebook page at the Cine-Files. You can subscribe to us in all the usual places, the most important of which is iTunes. And if you're on iTunes, please leave us a review. If you're on YouTube, leave us a comment. If you want to get your movie pick, you can go to patreon.com/thecine-files and support the show. And as always, you can reach me at SR Morris. John, where can they reach you?
You guys can always reach me at The Roca Says on Twitter and on Instagram.
And we want to thank again our incredible guest, Michael Vogel, for coming back on the show.
Yes, Queen.
And Michael, if people want to reach you, how would they go about doing that?
At MKToon on Twitter or Instagram.
All right. And I think that's it for this week. We will see you next time with another great movie on the Cine-Files.